Hi everyone, Josh Knight the First here with another episode of Ex-Aid Replay, coming to you with episode 39 of the series. Let's get right into it. So this week on the show, it's another drama-heavy, plot-heavy episode. Not a lot of time for laughs, we need story to tell, and apparently we don't have a lot of time left to tell it. So let's go ahead and get into what happened at the beginning of this episode. Now, as far as housekeeping issues go from last week's episode, I do appreciate that they have kept Taiga in recovery from the surgery that he had last week. As I stated, because of the surgery that Hiro performed on him last week, in order to save his heart from the damage he received from graphite, he will need to be recovering for at least 3 days. Now, we don't know exactly how many days have passed since the surgery has taken place, but we can assume it's not been that long. Now, it's worth noting at the beginning of the episode, the most reprieve we get from the drama-heavy portions of the episode, which is really the bulk of it, is just a little bit of fun that they have, poking fun at how Hiro talks to Taiga now. Admittedly, I figured that they were going to relate to each other a little bit differently, but there's a bit of an argument back and forth about what's better. Is it better that Hiro be polite, or that Hiro be a jerk like they're used to? Now, all of that aside, we get into the meat of the episode, which of course is dealing with Pallad/Paradox. Now, we've been told from the preview going into this episode that we might be seeing the end of Paradox, and as we've been told for the last couple of weeks, what that would potentially mean is that Emu would lose his ability to transform. So we have to think about this in terms of what this means for the story, but also how much story we have left. As it was just revealed this week, apparently Ex-Aid will end at episode 45, meaning we've got about 5 or 6 episodes left to tell the rest of the story. Now, I figured we were going to have just a little bit longer than that, but apparently that's not the case, meaning the reason everything feels so end-bossy is because it is, so we have to get things done right away. And that's exactly how Masamune Don feels. As Kronos, he figures that the easiest thing to do to take 2 people off the table is to defeat Paradox, which would then take Ex-Aid's ability to transform away from him. Now, the interesting thing to see is that Paradox, Pallad, is definitely experiencing the fear of death. Now, admittedly, yes, we've seen his bravado up to this point in the series, that he always thought he was above everybody else, and especially wanted to have that fight he always wanted with Emu. But we're seeing here that at heart, he's still very human in some ways, in that he's experiencing this painstaking vision of him drowning. Now, it's interesting that they're choosing that symbolism, a lot of heavy water symbolism in the last couple of episodes, but he's definitely experiencing this as though he's drowning, that every time he gets into a fight with Kronos, it could be his last. He's choking for air, even though technically he shouldn't need to breathe. Now, Pallad does carry this bravado with him for the bulk of the episode, but it's mostly for naught. Everybody sees straight through it. They know he's afraid, they know he knows that he's potentially about to die, but he still puts up a front as though that's going to save him some embarrassment. And based off conversations that he's having with Masamune and Emu, there's plenty of room for embarrassment. Masamune tells him, well, you're just a video game character, you're meant to be defeated by other people. And then, of course, the way he toys with him, the way he's just jabbing at him, stabbing at him, and there is no reprieve for Paradox. He's just getting hit left and right, and there's no feasible way that he can come back from this. Now, we can't just have Pallad beat up the entire episode, we do actually have to move the plot forward. So we see that when Emu steps in to fight Kronos, Kronos gives Ex-Aid another ultimatum. Either you can go ahead and defeat Paradox this episode, or you can see Nico disappear, because as we see now, she's been infected with a new strain of Bugster virus. In this case, it's Game Deus' specific strain. Now, as to when she was infected with the Bugster virus, we don't know. It had to be sometime between the beginning of the episode when she was checking up on Taiga, and then when Kiria found her there in the hallway. As to who did it, who knows. It might have been by Masamune, but he doesn't seem like the kind of person who wants to get his own hands dirty, but that could be perhaps changing. Either way, she is now infected. Now, as Saibaniko has been infected with the Bugster strain from Game Deus, she does start to cope with the idea that maybe her time is coming. Maybe because it's end boss time, she might not make it out. So she sees this as an opportunity to go ahead and apologize to Emu for her behavior towards him when she first showed up at the beginning of the series. Now, it's nice to see that they're addressing that. She did deserve to give him an apology, or rather he deserved it from her. But more than that, I actually want to compliment her actress on the way that she's showing exactly how scared she is. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm scared, but it's another thing entirely when you look at her hands. She's actually got nail marks in there for where she's gripping herself so hard, and she's actually crying there. It's not as easy as it might seem to be able to cry on cue, and she actually did that. Same thing goes for Hiro's actor last week, so I do applaud her performance in this episode. Now, along with that apology, we also get some backstory filled in for exactly what happened to Emu prior to episode 1, namely the first incident that brought him to the hospital. So we see that it was a mix of two things. For one thing, yes, he was infected with Bugster virus, but what happened was that as a child, this caused him the pain he was feeling from the Bugster virus to kind of wander out into traffic and get hit by a car, it seems. So this is what brought him to the hospital initially. Now, Emu uses this to open up about how he felt at the time as a child, dealing with the idea that he might die, and we do see again this symbolism of him being drowned in water. Now, because we see that Emu pictured death that way, his fear of death as him drowning in water, this could be the reason why Paradox is experiencing it in the same way, since they're cut from the same cloth essentially. Now, as to exactly how definite that is, we don't know exactly. It's kind of left up to the audience to decide. But symbolism aside, we still have to go ahead and cure our patient. Now, we're not exactly going to get that done this episode, but it still needs to be addressed that we need to get up to Game Deus in order to cure Saibanico. So that means Emu has to make a decision. Now, it seems that he's doing his best to make a decision under duress, and he's trying to get as much information as he possibly can. He knows he wants to save Saibanico, but he still looks for options, but he's running out of them very quickly. He does briefly approach Kuroto-dan in order to get information on what could be done as an alternative to defeating Paradox. And initially he asks if it was possible to just destroy the Kamen Rider Chronicle Gashot that Masamune-dan has. Could that potentially cure the Game Deus virus? Now, the problem with that is that Kuroto-dan, being the jerk that he is, doesn't exactly come up with an answer right away, or an answer that Emu accepts. So this forces Emu to go ahead and make this decision. Now, we see a lot of what seems like anger coming out of Emu, and I'm not sure what exactly they're going towards with that. I'm not sure. I just wish it was something that was a little more clearly defined. Maybe we'll get some more on that next week, since he has to deal with the aftermath of what will eventually happen in this episode, but I just want to see that fleshed out a little bit more. Why exactly is he so angry? Is it just because Saibanico's life is on the line, or is it because he actually wants to save Paradox? Who knows? Either way, he's made a decision. He needs to end this, and the best way to do that is to take on Paradox directly. So this of course leads to our second and only other fight in the episode, which is Eggzade versus Paradox. And the thing about it is, it's not even really a fight, it's no contest, it's flawless victory. Paradox never had a chance. Just as much as he went up against Kronos and could do nothing, he can do nothing against Eggzade. And again, that anger shows up out of Emu. He's really driving forward. No, this is the last fight. You are not getting away. Even when Paradox tries to teleport away, he stops him. We're finishing this right here, right now, and decides to go ahead and finish him off with a rider kick. And despite Poppy and Kuroto-dan there being on the sidelines trying to talk Emu out of it, no, that's it. The kick landed. It's over. He tells Paradox as he fades away, no, I won. You're gone. Now this of course baffles Kuroto-dan. Why would you do this? Why would you take our one trump card off the table, since once you defeat Paradox you can no longer transform? We don't exactly understand why he did that, but we do see there Emu's tightening up his fist, still mad about something. As to what, we don't know. We'll have to see next week when we see for the bulk of the episode he won't be able to transform, but by the end we'll get his powers back. How exactly that works, that might have to do with the reoccurrence of the Mighty Brothers XX Gashot showing up in his possession, which he hasn't used in quite some time. It's also worth noting that during the episode we did get a little bit of a tease for the summer movie True Ending, in which Masamune took a call in regard to the company Machina Vision, who are supposed to be mass-producing Kamen Rider Chronicle. Now, of course, we won't get a lot of information about this. Mostly it's meant to get you to go out to the theaters to see the movie, but for those of us over in the West, we'll have to wait a couple of months. So yes, another drama-heavy episode, another death dealed in this episode, but we didn't see any flowers given to Paradox's actor, so I don't think he's gone just yet, and based off the preview, I don't think he's permanently gone either. But all that aside, I can't believe that we have so little time left. I figured we'd get up to 48, 49, or maybe that was just wishful thinking on my part, but yes, we've only got 5 to 6 episodes left of this series. I'm sad to see it go sooner than I wanted to because I'm really enjoying what's happening, but yeah, this is the last final run, so let's enjoy it. But while we still have it, let's go ahead and enjoy Eggzade, and I want to hear what you guys thought about this episode in the comments below. So first, let's talk about Paradox. Do you guys think he's perma-dead, or is he going to come back within the next 5 episodes? Secondly, Game Deus. Now that we have Saibanico infected with his strain of the virus, along with Graphite, how do you think Game Deus will actually show up? Through Saibanico or through Graphite? And lastly, Saibanico's condition. Do you think they'll go ahead and cure her of the game virus, or do you think it's more along what Kuroto-dan said, don't worry, be Bugster? And of course, during the week, you can always talk to me on social media. Over on Twitter, I'm at JoshKnight1st. This has been episode 39 of Eggzade Replay for episode 39 of the series. Goodbye me. I'm Josh Knight the First. I'll see you guys again next week.